Hello, my name is BHaab, and I will be discussing the misconduct of Brandy BHaab. She was a postdoctoral fellow with her PhD, and she was studying at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She worked in the Center for Integrative Chemical Biology and Drug Discovery, which was under the Division of Chemical Biology and Medicinal Chemistry. Her grant was supported by the National Institute of Environmental and Health Sciences, as well as the National Institute of Diabetes, Digestive, and Kidney Disease. As mentioned, her papers were retracted, and her grant was also retracted. Her overall topic and field of studies were medicinal chemistry and pharmacological and genetic approaches. For the pharmacological genetic approaches, they used chemical probes to intervene in signal cascades, which meant that they first designed the high throughput screen against this PPIP5K enzyme, which is a high in synthesizing pyrophosphates, and it functions to regulate signal transduction and cellular energy metabolism. For the medicinal chemistry, it was more the field study of in vitro L3 MBTL3 dimerization for the MBT domains. They found that the mutations for second MBT domain and the first MBT domain overruled the dimerization in regular cells and in vitro cells. They also found that the L3-MBTL3 recognized dimethyl and monomethylated lysine residues on the histone tails. For Dr. BHaab's methodology for this medicinal chemistry, she focused more on the alpha screen assay that assisted in dimer population, specifically for the UNC 1215 that was both absent and present. There, they measured protein-protein interaction for the alpha screen to determine the donor. As you can see, they used different versions of the domains throughout the research, and when they conducted it in vitro, they added unlabeled H4K20Me2 peptides. Off to the right, you can see it's just a figure just describing what I talked about, so you can easily follow along. For Dr. BHaab's misconduct, it was falsified and fabricated data that she was caught doing. She reused and relabeled 14 individual Western blot images, which violated the integrity and validity for her published conclusions for her falsified images and descriptions that she provided. This was in multiple instances of data manipulation because she wasn't caught once but twice on the ORI board review. As mentioned, these articles were published in journal articles, so they had to be retracted. This is one of the many examples that she included in her research, and this one's focusing on the Western blot images. Here are other examples of the figures she included, either as fabricated data or falsified information within her descriptions. For her synactions, the papers had to be retracted because they were published in the journal articles. Also, her grant had to be retracted. For the ORI's agreement, they came up with an agreement for a 3-year agreement of supervision under her research. They also revoked her eligibility and involvement in any programs that were under United States government, such as the HHS implementation of the OMB guidelines and agencies in the government. That fell underneath her revokement for any involvement. She also voluntarily excluded herself from participating in any U.S. public health services, and those public health services range from committees, boards, and peer reviews, either as a consultant or a committee. These effects had negative impacts on the public because she didn't have just one result of fabricating and falsifying information. She did it twice. She even signed an agreement after she got caught the first time, saying that there was no other research journal article out there that had fabricated and falsified information. But later on, did the ORI find out that there was definitely more falsified information that the public was able to use in future studies. So whoever used these research articles that were retracted from Brandy now were wasting funds and their time because they had to be retracted. 3 of the co-authors, also from the published article in 2017, came out and said that the 3 UNCs that are included in this presentation weren't even inhibitors of the enzyme PPIP5K. And if this study was ever to be conducted again, it would be impossible for the results to be recreated because it was falsified and fabricated. As I mentioned, there are negative impacts and consequences for anybody that's involved in a retracted paper. For her personally, her credibility and quality of work were affected, and her peer recognition was lost. And overall, it was just a waste of time, money, and fundings for the people that were involved in her research. For the institution, at the University of North Carolina, it lost credibility and quality because of the production of results. Producing something that had to be retracted does not look good. And it eroded the trust and for the funding agencies, so they could revoke their grants if they wanted to. For the scientific community, co-authors, and the public, it affected the publishing journal articles' credibility as well. And for the co-authors, it can affect their ability to work in science. But all the co-authors are still working in science. It also just lost peer recognition for those co-authors and their chances of ever working in science or being published at all. Here are my references, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.